What kind of world order do we want? How should it be designed so that states can pursue their interests without going to war? I've always found those questions intriguing. Today it seems that the time to find answers is running out. We don't have to look far to see that the institutions, norms and rules that have governed international politics for the last 70 years are increasingly challenged. China, but also Russia, are questioning major aspects of that order. They invoke the principle of state sovereignty as a shield to operate as they wish, while seeking to establish new rules. The way China and Russia treat their neighbors in Ukraine and the South China Sea suggests an overwhelming reliance on hard military and economic power to the detriment of norms and institutions. For this reason, policymakers around the world emphasize the importance of preserving the rules-based order. Last year, Antony Blinken, US Secretary of State, described what could happen if we don't. I quote, "The alternative to a rules-based order is a world in which might makes right and winners take all, and that would be a far more violent and unstable world for all of us." The problem is this: a peaceful, stable and fair rules-based order has never existed. Hence, it cannot be preserved. The juxtaposition of Western support for an order that is beneficial to all and China's interest in overthrowing it is misleading and ultimately dangerous. 3 points are important here. First, the narrative of the rules-based order idealizes the past. History is viewed through a Western lens. Europe has enjoyed widespread prosperity and stability under US protection since the 1950s. This dominance culminated during the United States unipolar moment between the end of the Cold War and the financial crisis in 2008. In Asia, the story was different. The institutions and norms that define order in Asia remain based on a system of military alliances between the US and its East Asian allies. This system was designed to contain the spread of communism. It does not bear a particularly strong imprint of liberal values. In various parts, Asia has been a site of warfare and authoritarianism for much of its post-World War II history. The second reason why the narrative of the rules-based order is problematic is this. Statements such as Blinken imply that there is a single dominant international order that Washington supports and Beijing opposes. Abandoning that rules-based order would leave us all in an anarchic world. That is too simplistic. There are different orders, not just one. There is a constitutive order on which the UN system is based on. There is a military order, a trade order, a development order, and so on. China accepts various of those orders while contesting others. This may change in the future, we don't know. But China is likely to continue to support the norms and the institutions that serve its interests. In addition, China is not the only actor challenging parts of the order. The United States have repeatedly followed the might makes right approach, for instance, when it invaded Iraq in 2003. Let me give you another example. The United States operates a military base on Diego Garcia in the Indian Ocean. Decades ago, the United Kingdom has separated this island from Mauritius and leased it to the United States. In 2019, the International Court of Justice has ruled that this separation was illegal. It is in violation of the self-determination and territorial integrity of Mauritius. The United States and the United Kingdom are disregarding the verdict. This has not led to criticism in the West. In contrast, China's refusal to participate in the South China Sea arbitration with the Philippines in 2016 and its rejection of the verdict has widely been portrayed as a proof that it is seeking to overturn the rules-based order. Finally, there are problems with the rules themselves. They are amorphous, sometimes ambiguous, and unevenly enforced. Take, for example, UNCLOS, the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, around which the South China Sea dispute revolves. The United States claim that China's militarization efforts challenge the norm of freedom of navigation. There are obvious legitimate concerns about China's expansionism in the South China Sea, but a common understanding regarding freedom of navigation in Asia is lacking. That is especially true for warships. China, India, Malaysia, and others try to restrict the military navigational rights in their exclusive economic zone. On the other hand, the United States and Australia, for example, favor an expansive interpretation of freedom of navigation for warships. The position of the United States is undermined by the fact that it has not even ratified UNCLOS and technically exists outside of the regime. What does this all mean? The narrative of a peaceful, stable and fair rules-based order is oversimplifying the past and the present. This makes thinking about and shaping the future more complicated. In both Europe and Asia, we have an interest in rules that serve all of us and not just the great powers. I think that the narrative of the rules-based order is much more about the preservation of political power than about stability. It is about who can determine which rules pertain where. And let's be clear, in the future, the West won't set all the rules. This is not to say that we should not push back against China's behavior where it is in violation of international law. In the area of human rights, for example, China and Russia are trying to undermine well-established and important norms. China has joined most human rights regimes, but its behavior with them is hypocritical and instrumental. But the international order needs to reflect the underlying balance of power. In the last few years, China's means have increased considerably to shape rules or to refuse to go by them. In general, as we have heard, political, economic and military weight is shifting towards Asia. It is unrealistic to expect a more powerful Asia to support an order it had very little say in establishing. The demands of China, India and others for more say and influence will need to be accommodated. How can we make sure that an effective rules-based approach gains wider acceptance? First and most important, we need to shift the emphasis away from defending the rules-based order towards building a rules-based order. Second, such an approach needs to be calibrated as much as possible to the interests and expectations of powerful and less powerful nations. And finally, it must be substantiated through policy and demonstrated in cooperative action. Working out the future rules will not be easy, quite the contrary. It will be the challenge of the next decade. But let me ask you again, what kind of world order do we want? Let's work towards a peaceful, stable and fair rules-based order worthy of the name. Thank you.